In the late 1930s, as the world edged toward war, most fighters shared a familiar look. Single-engine monoplanes with nose-mounted propellers, conventional tails, and predictable performance. But at Lockheed's Burbank plant, engineers were working on something that looked like it belonged to another century. The U.S. Army Air Corps had asked for a high-speed, high-altitude interceptor that could climb like a rocket, outrun anything in the air, and carry enough firepower to tear apart bombers. Lockheed's answer was the P-38 Lightning. Nothing about it was conventional. Twin booms carried the engines far apart, linked by a central nacelle housing the cockpit, armament, and nose gear. Counter-rotating propellers eliminated torque effect, giving it an eerie, symmetrical grace. In Europe, the Luftwaffe nicknamed it the Forktailed Devil after their first encounters, a name that stuck in the press. But the futuristic shape hid problems. The Lightning was one of the first fighters to flirt with the transonic range, where airflow compresses, shockwaves form, and controls behave unpredictably. In steep dives near Mach 0.7, the P-38 could be caught in a deadly compressibility stall. Shockwaves shifted lift, forcing the nose down and locking the elevator. Pilots had no way to pull out, and many never returned. Only later, with dive recovery flaps on P-38J and L models, was the danger tamed. Despite these risks, the P-38 offered speed, altitude, and a silhouette no enemy could forget. Sitting far forward in the cockpit with two Allison V-1710 engines rumbling at their sides, pilots felt the Lightning's power the moment they opened the throttles. But beauty and speed weren't enough. The real test would come in World War II, where its strengths and flaws would be exposed in equal measure. On Lockheed's drawing boards, the P-38's twin-boom layout was brilliant. Separating the engines left the central nacelle free for weapons, gear, and pilot, creating a clean, balanced design. Stability was excellent, and access to the guns and ammo feeds was simple. But combat revealed the trade-offs. That wide engine spacing slowed the Lightning's roll rate. Against nimble fighters like the Bf-109 or A6M0, those extra moments to bank and turn could be fatal. Pilots learned quickly. Tight turn dogfights were a losing game. The Allison V-1710 engines, boosted by turbo superchargers, promised unmatched altitude performance, but Europe's freezing air exposed their fragility. Poor intercooling could cause detonation, and sudden temperature shifts cracked components. Turbo failures grounded Lightnings for days. Worst of all, losing one engine meant wrestling with brutal asymmetric thrust. At low speeds, the aircraft could yaw and spin with little warning, making single-engine landings a gamble few wanted to take. The cockpit brought its own issues. Rearward visibility was limited, heating was inadequate, and frostbite was common at high altitudes. For ground crews, maintenance was time-consuming. The tricycle landing gear was innovative but unfamiliar, and the turbo supercharger system required tools and parts that weren't always available in the field. In Europe, where the Luftwaffe exploited every weakness, these flaws hurt the P-38's reputation. But as the war moved into new theaters, its liabilities in one environment would become strengths in another. Keeping a P-38 Lightning combat ready was a battle of its own. Its twin-boom design meant double the fuel lines, wiring, and plumbing. Each Allison engine was paired with a turbo supercharger buried deep in the booms, connected by tight ducting and intercoolers. When a turbo failed, and it happened often, mechanics had to strip panels and work in cramped spaces that seemed designed to punish hands and patience. Intercoolers, vital for preventing engine damage at altitude, were another headache. They leaked, clogged, or lost efficiency, sometimes requiring major disassembly to reach. The tricycle landing gear, advanced for its time, improved ground handling, but introduced new hydraulic systems that could seize in mud, dust, or freezing conditions. Even simple jobs took longer. Access panels weren't always where crews wanted them, and the Lightning's long frame meant constant trips up and down ladders. Its nose-mounted guns, while deadly, required meticulous cleaning and careful handling of tight feed mechanisms to prevent jams mid-combat. In Europe, where quick turnarounds were critical, these demands meant fewer Lightnings in the air when they were needed most. In the Pacific, however, where missions were longer but less frequent, crews could meet its demands and the aircraft's value began to outweigh its maintenance burdens. If the Lightning's nose gave it precision, its fuel capacity gave it power over the map. With over 400 gallons internally and the option for drop tanks, the P-38 could fly more than 2,000 miles, distances no other early war U.S. fighter could match. In the Pacific, this range was transformative. Bong and Maguire could escort bombers on deep raids, patrol vast stretches of ocean, or intercept enemy formations far beyond what Japanese planners thought possible. The Lightning could take off from secure bases, strike deep inside enemy territory, and return without relying on forward airstrips. This endurance also allowed flexibility mid-mission. Pilots could break from escort duty to chase targets, then rejoin or head home with fuel to spare. In Europe, before the P-51 Mustang arrived, the P-38 was one of the only fighters able to escort bombers all the way to deep targets in Germany. For the Japanese, this meant no place was truly safe. A Lightning could appear suddenly, deliver its attack, and vanish, leaving enemies wondering how American fighters had reached so far, so fast. In Europe, the P-38 battled more than enemy fighters. It fought the cold. Frigid air strained its engines, stressed the turbo superchargers, and left pilots battling frostbite. German Bf-109s and FW-190s, built for quick-turning, high-speed combat in those conditions, exploited every weakness. But in the Pacific, the environment played to the Lightning's strengths. Warm, humid air eased engine wear, intercoolers worked efficiently, and icing was no longer a threat. The geography was equally favorable. An ocean dotted with islands meant long distances between airstrips, perfect for an aircraft with exceptional range. Here, pilots could dictate the fight. Using boom and zoom tactics, they'd dive on slower, lightly built Japanese aircraft, strike with overwhelming firepower, and climb away before an enemy could respond. Without rigid bomber escort formations tying them down, Bong and Maguire had freedom to hunt, intercept, and ambush as they saw fit. The result was a complete reversal of reputation. In Europe, a struggling experiment. In the Pacific, a predator perfectly suited to its prey. Was the P-38 Lightning a failure? Only if you judged it in the wrong skies. In Europe's cold, high-altitude battles, it faced mechanical issues, aerodynamic quirks, and opponents that exploited its slower roll rate. There, it sometimes delivered frustration more than victory. But the Pacific was different. Range mattered more than tight turns. Firepower mattered more than climb angles. The Lightning's strengths, its long legs, nose-mounted punch, and stability in high-speed attacks matched the environment perfectly. It could reach targets no other U.S. fighter could, hit hard, and disengage at will. Bong and Maguire turned those traits into a winning formula. They didn't fight the P-38's weaknesses, they fought to its strengths. And the results made history, both becoming the highest-scoring American aces of all time. The P-38's legacy isn't perfection, it's adaptation. It proved that the right machine in the right hands and in the right theater can rewrite expectations. A flawed masterpiece, yes, but one that, when unleashed in its element, was unstoppable.